Start the proceedings.
Yes, sir.
All
we'll start the
our
proceedings.
MDCA and executive directors are assembled here. They are waiting.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Prabhakar, sir.
Very good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Go ahead.
Sure, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is safe and doing well. On behalf of Antique Stock Broking, I welcome you all to first quarter earnings call of Canara Bank. We have with us senior management of Canara Bank, represented by Shri L.V. Prabhakar, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Shri Debashish Mukherjee, Executive Director, Ms. A. Manimekalai, Executive Director, Shri K. Raju, Executive Director, Shri Brij Mohan Sharma, Executive Directors, along with other team members on the call. Without taking any more time, I will hand over the call to Shri Prabhakar sir for his opening remarks, post which we'll open the floor for question and answer. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for participating in this interactive meeting. I will just highlight the performance for Q1 of FY22. First, I would like to talk about the business. Global gross business has grown by 9.38% YOY, and domestic business has grown by 9.23%. We did well as far as the deposits are concerned. Global deposits have grown by 12.34%, and domestic deposits have grown by 11.6% YOY. Credit, yes, as far as advances are concerned, global credit has grown by 5.23%, and domestic credit by 5.94%. And in all the parameters, quarter on quarter, there is a positive growth. Generally, in the banking industry, Q1 of any financial year will have a negative growth. However, Canara Bank has shown positive growth in business, in deposits, as well as in advances. I would like to emphasize regarding the performance of CASA. CASA has grown by 37,971 crores in absolute terms, and the savings bank has grown by 14%. CASA has grown by 12.91%. Retail term deposits has grown by 12.14%, and the growth in absolute terms is 46,000 crores. I would like to emphasize on the mandatory norms of priority sector because it has nowadays a great impact on the income side also. Against a norm of 40% of priority sector, we are having as on date, after selling the PSLC certificates to other banks, still we hold about 45.47%. And in agriculture, against a requirement of 18%, still we hold at 20.93%. This difference is available for Canara Bank at any time to sell in the market and to earn commission in terms of sale of PSLC certificates. Quality of the advances has improved. For example, A and above rated accounts from 65.15%, it has now increased to 67%. And the percentage of accounts with double B and below double B has gone down from 19.72% to 18.82%. Now let me talk about the income parameters. Interest income, quarter on quarter, yes, we have shown a growth of 2.79%. Year on year, there is a degrowth of 7%. As you all know, in the last 1 year, because of the reduction in the repo rate of 40 basis points, we have passed on to our customers the reduction of interest of 50 basis points as far as MCLR is concerned, and 40 basis points as far as RLLR is concerned. Non-interest income, YOY, there is a growth of 67%. Quarter on quarter, there is a degrowth of 14%. If you compare with the June to June, because the situations which will be there in the June and the situations which will be there in the March are entirely different. So YOY, when we compare, there is a growth of 67%. Fee-based income has grown by 43%. trading income by 38%. And we have given more focus on recovery in return of accounts. It is about 680 crores. For tax purposes, we are taking 600 crores, and it is 131% YOY growth. Other income has grown by 96%. So total income has grown by 3% YOY, and quarter on quarter it is at 1% minus. Interest expenses. YOY, the expenses has come down by 11%, and quarter on quarter about 1%. Operating expenses, quarter on quarter, it has come down by 5%. However, year on year, there is a growth of 8%. This is basically because of staff cost, where there is an increase of 15% of salary as per the bipartite agreement. And we have also given 15 days PLI to our employees because of excellent results as on 31st March 2021, because of which the staff cost has increased by quarter on quarter 2.3% and year on year 10%, which is comparatively a better figure. And we have a great control on operating expenses. Q on QR, we have reduced by 18%. So total expenses, YOY, there is a reduction of 5.74%, and quarter on quarter 2.29%. Now coming to the total income and total interest expenses, if you see, the NII, quarter on quarter, there is a growth of about 10%. And operating profit, as on 30th June, it is at 5,751, showing a growth of 34% YOY and about 1% quarter on quarter. Provisions, yes, for NPA we have done less, but as a prudent measure, we have done ample provisioning, and the provisioning figure is at 4,574 crores. The outcome of these two things, that is the net profit, it is at 1,177 crores, showing a growth of 16% quarter on quarter and 190% year on year. If you go and understand what type of provisions we have done, by earmarking 4,574 crores, out of this, for NPS only it is 2,335 crores. That is, there is a reduction of about 47% quarter on quarter. And then this time we have made for income tax 845 crores provision. Last year, same June quarter, it was only 53 crores. And the other provisions which we have done for restructuring and other things, that is about 1,344 crores. ROA, we have clocked 0.41, and we are confident going forward we are going to improve this figure. Cost to income ratio, which was at 51%, now we have brought down to 45%. Going forward, we are hopeful this will be a still attractive figure. Earning per share, it is at 28. Yes, we are hopeful that this figure will also improve. Book value from 241, which was in the last quarter, now it has increased to 254. We have taken various measures to control the cost of deposit, and now it has come down to 4.02. And yield on advances, in spite of passing on the benefit to the customers, borrowers, we still maintain an yield on advances of 7.09, then giving a NIM of about 2.71, increasing from 2.50, which was there in the last quarter. Gross NPA from 8.93, it has been reduced to 8.50. Absolute terms, there is a reduction of about 2,000 crores. Net NPA from 3.82, it has been reduced to 3.46. In absolute terms, again, there is a reduction of 2,000 crores. Provision coverage ratio, we have achieved 81.18%. Going forward, we will be improving this ratio, and credit cost, we managed at 2.04 with a slippage ratio of 0.69. Recovery, this time we have given more emphasis on upgradation, and we achieved a figure of 2,292 crores. And cash recovery, other than recovery in the return of accounts, is 1,590 crores. And recovery in return of accounts is 680 crores. Put together, the cash recovery is about 2,458 crores. Cash recovery plus upgradation is about 4,750 crores, and the slippages are 4,391, including the debits in the existing NPA. That is, the collection is more than the fresh slippages, and because of which we could maintain a good NPA ratios. Restructuring. In the restructuring resolution framework of 1, we have restructured about 5,000 crores against a target of 10,000 crores. And we have made required 10% provisioning. Under the resolution framework 2, that is during the last quarter, that is Q1 of FY22, when 2.5 months out of 3 months, the shops were closed, business were not happening, and lockdown was there, the MSME and retail people really, they got hit. And proactively, we have approached all our people and encouraged them, whoever is affected with the COVID, to use this facility. And then we have also advised them that if they have good cash flows, they can pay back even though there is no demand. We have restructured, or we have resolved to the extent of 13,234 crores. Number of accounts is 3.5 lakhs. But after this, the people have started repaying the amount, and 64 crores we have already received as on 30th June, out of which 35 crores is advance payment. And we are hopeful that during the current month and the months to come, the people who have availed this resolution process or resolution facility, they will be paying back their installments without waiting to pay subsequently after availing the moratorium period, because now they are getting the cash flows, and these borrowers are, I can say, where the unit is there, where it is functioning, and they are conscious about the interest cost. So to avoid the interest cost, they prefer to pay back the installments even though they are not due. Regarding the capital ratios have improved. Tier 1, it is at 10.34, and CRAR is at 13.36. So with these few words, now I open the session for question and answers. You are free to ask any question. Over to you, please.
Thank you, sir. We'll now open the floor for Q&A. Any participant who wishes to ask a question may do so by raising their virtual hand. We'll wait for a moment. We have the first question from the line of Mr. Ashok. Please go ahead. So please unmute yourself.
Yeah, good afternoon, Prabhakar sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Ashok. Thank you.
Congratulations to the entire team for the excellent result. Very good profitability, good income maintained in spite of all the difficulties which are faced by the bank. I have certain small observations and some concerns also. Our income, the profit comprises of mainly the treasury operations in this quarter of almost about 2,593 crores. An appreciation of quarterly appreciation of more than 1,150 crores. So this becomes a good point also, appreciation and accolades to the treasury, but at the same time raises the concern also that if there is a pressure on the treasury, because these are not the booked income. So then what will happen? I mean, because the asset deployment to the treasury, the additional asset deployed for the quarter is only 10,000 crores, but returns are very high. So this is one thing on which I need your observation and reaction on this comment. I have a couple of other questions and data points also. Now, one is that selling of PSLC, of 700 crores vision. So it's out of 953 crores of the other income, in the income. So is it going to be a consistent kind of a for the remaining 3 quarters, or this is one-off during the whole year going to be? Because this also
Yeah. Shall I answer?
Yes, sir, you can proceed. There seems to be some network problem.
No, he has to hear, no? Whether Mr. Ashok is online, please can you check up?
So I think he is not there. Sir, we'll take the next question, then we can come back to him
Yeah.
again.
Because I want to answer when he hears, because it is his question. So
Sure,
my
sir.
responsibility is to answer him.
We have next question
Please.
from the line of
I can-
Jayendra.
Yeah, Ashok ji, you are
Here
back.
you have Ashok Ajmera here. Yes,
Yeah,
sir, I was
please,
muted
please.
by
I allow
them.
to answer your. Okay. I allow to answer your question. See, generally in any quarter, if any bank earns good non-interest income, the first question will be whether next quarter you are going to get or not. It is a normal question. The issue is the treasury which we are having is a very efficient treasury, and if you see the book which we are having, still we have a lot of scope to earn money. This is point number one. Second one is, if you compare the treasury income in the last 4 quarters, consistently treasury is doing very well, and next quarter also it is going to do well. There is no doubt about that. Now the issue is whether we are going to sustain for a long period. Yes, as long as our modified duration is under control and we can understand the market, there will not be any issue. Second one is PSLC certificates. This time we earned 699 crores. The point is whether we are going to continue this or not. When I was discussing with the slide wherein the mandatory priority sector lending targets are there I have said that priority sector lending target mandated is 40%. Today, even after selling the PSLC certificates, now I am at 45.47%. And now we are aggressive under healthcare sector also, which also counts for priority sector classification. Going forward, we will be having scope to sell the PSLC certificate, if not in the present scale. But all the components of non-interest income, in some quarters, some parameters will have higher weightages. In other quarters, some other new parameters will come up, wherein we will be making money. So overall, how we are faring as far as non-interest income is concerned is of importance. So we have many parameters wherein we can do it. And one more thing is when you see our fee-based income, it is at 1,337 crores compared to last June of 931 crores. So this is increasing because again it is linked with the business increase and also the way in which we are handling the business. There are many ways to increase the fee-based income. I can be a follower of some other bank in some credit proposal, or I can be a leader and I can have a premium as far as the fee-based income is concerned. That is the processing charges and other things. As you all know, our credit, domestic credit especially, in spite of COVID, in the Q1, it has grown by 6%. That means we are very active in the market even during COVID time. So our aim is to give more and more focus on non-interest income, including treasury, including other income, and we are hopeful to continue the trend. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have next question from the line of Mr. Jay Mundra. So please unmute yourself. Mr. Jay. Okay, we'll move to the next participant. That is Mahrukh.
Sorry,
Please go ahead.
Sorry, I was not able to unmute myself. So, good afternoon, sir. A few questions from my
Good
side.
afternoon.
Sir,
Please.
the first thing is we have accumulated losses from erstwhile Syndicate Bank of around 18,000 crore. Right. So why are we still, paying taxes on quarterly basis? Why not? Why are we not offsetting those accumulated losses?
Uh, Let me clarify the figures. The accumulated losses from Syndicate Bank is only 10,000 plus crores, and about 9,000 crores is from Canara Bank. Put together, it is about 19,000 crores. These are carry forward losses. I am paying 845 crores as income tax, but there is no outgo of the money. So as long as I have the accumulated losses, I'll be continuing with the present system to take the advantage of the accumulated losses.
Right, sir. The question is because you have the similar situation with one of other PSU bank, which also had some accumulated losses. They have shifted to DTA computation on quarterly basis, and they are showing tax write-backs. So what is it that is stopping you in terms of tax write-back? If not on quarterly basis, then on annual basis, can there be a tax write back in total, or you would still be having accounting taxes paid?
As per the approval of the board, as on date, we are continuing with the present tax system, and going forward, depending upon the balance sheet during that period of time, the board may take a decision to change or to continue. But as on date, we are continuing with the existing tax system.
No. So that is okay, sir. That is on the tax regime. I am asking for full year basis. Will there be any accounting tax provisions, or on full year basis you will have tax write backs?
My
Mudra, good
CFO
evening. I am Ramchandra here. See, there are two aspects. This is only the accounting tax provision, and as far as the tax is concerned, we need not pay the actual tax because I am entitled to carry forward the loss for the next 6 to 7 years. So I need not pay any tax virtually for 5 years. Yes, we are not taking as a conservative basis because you see the income tax matters or litigation, or in order to avoid the making our balance sheet strong, we are making a conservative measure as a we are providing the tax. Actually, there is no outgo of tax.
Right. Understood, sir. So maybe you are avoiding litigation. If okay, understood. So that's helpful. Second question is, sir, on restructuring. So if I were to look at that outstanding restructured as on date or as on quarter end June, so it would be like COVID 1 plus COVID 2 plus MSME restructuring of some 4,000 odd crores, right? So it should be,
correct.
I mean, these three are additive, right? So COVID 1, COVID 2, and the MSME.
Correct.
That is
But
right.
here
Sir.
there is a difference.
Okay.
But here there is a difference. Please understand. The MSME restructuring of that 4,000 crores which you are talking, it is called a restructuring. That is individual account wise. Whereas regarding the resolution framework, that is restructuring of COVID-2, it is something different from the other resolutions. In the sense, in the last quarter, because of the lockdown, the shops were not open and there are no cash flows. So basically, the borrower is interested to open the shop, but he was not allowed to open. So naturally, when it is not under his control, it is a responsibility of everyone to provide him a payment holiday, which otherwise is reflected in terms of resolution framework 2. Here, there are many good borrowers who have the capacity to pay, and after the lockdown, their shops are working, there is a good cash flows. And out of this, already people, before June itself, they started paying, and they paid around 64 crores, out of which 35 crores is advance payment. That means people are interested to pay as soon as they get the money or as soon as cash flows are available to avoid the interest burden. So what we observe is this particular 13,000 crores of restructuring under framework 2, most of the people going forward will be paying the installment, which will be treated as advanced installment for all the practical purposes.
Right. Right, sir. And the last question, sir, if you last quarter, I think you were saying that I mean, sorry. So if you can include the below 5 crores loan and can give the SMA 012 figure, that would be very helpful, because it looks like that the stress is particularly there in the below 5 crore loan accounts, right? Because the corporate have been doing reasonably much better. So just to understand the situation, if you have the SMA 012 including below 5 crore loans. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir, if you have that number for SMA 012, including
See,
below.
SMA 012, as far as 5 crores and above is concerned, we have given us 1.65. If you include SMA 1 and 2 less than 5 crores, it will be the equal amount.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Jay. We have next question from the line of Mahrukh. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, sir. Sir, can you give the breakdown of retail slippage, please?
Ma'am, retail slippage
Sorry,
out of the
breakdown
total.
of total slippage. Please pardon me. Breakdown of total slippage.
Yeah. Out of this 4,200 crores, which is a fresh slippage, about 56% is about MSME, and about 36 to 38% is retail, and rest is others.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir, and my other question is that, what is the total COVID restructuring in 1+2, including pipeline? I know there's a slide on it, but I just wanted to reconfirm the figure.
See, for resolution 1, there is no pipeline. Pipeline has been completed.
Yes.
And resolution 2, most of the accounts proactively we have approached the people, and we have completed the exercise as on 30th June.
Okay, so basically there's no pipeline.
There will be some as far as resolution 2 is concerned, but only thing is now the people who have not come forward before 30th June for restructuring, now they should come forward. Then only the figure will increase. However, we feel that some people will come for restructuring during the current quarter also, but it will not be like the restructuring which we done in Q1.
Got it, sir. Sir, and
Thank
the
you.
other, sir, I have one more question. Sir, of the
Please.
total slippage retail that you gave, can you also break down what is the agri slippage?
Agri slippage.
Yes. Slippage from agriculture.
Yeah. How much? It will be around 9 to 10%.
9 to 10% of total. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahrukh. We have next question from the line of Mona Khetan. Please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello, please.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Good evening. So my first question is on the agri NPAs. It seems your agri NPAs are both lower than peers, and typically Q1 is in Q1 agri NPAs are seasonally higher across industry, but it has held up in your case. So anything that explains better agri NPAs for Canara Bank?
As far as agriculture outstanding is concerned, our outstanding is about 1,56,000 crores. Out of this, if you see the KCC, where there will be hit, and where the ancillary units are there under agriculture, that we have already restructured wherever restructuring is eligible. And in the restructuring slide, we have given that agriculture we have restructured to an extent of less than 1,000 crores. Because of that, the agriculture slippages are less and repayment is more. And the second point is, basically underwriting under agriculture by the Canara Bank is a bit different in the sense we go through the details of lending so that tomorrow the accounts will not become bad. So that has helped us in maintaining our gross NPA at 5.89% in agriculture. And I think going forward, we will be maintaining the NPA percentage under agriculture close to this figure only.
Sure. And coming to your upgrades and recoveries of 3,900 crore this quarter, if you could just give some color on how much was from upgrade of due to completion of restructuring of some corporate accounts, and how much were intra-quarter recoveries, if any?
Regarding the upgradation, there is no corporate account because of restructuring, it has become upgraded. All corporate accounts which are upgraded are only through recovery. And in this, corporate accounts are not significant. The second one is upgradation has happened mostly by collection of cash from the people, and a minor portion will be there because of restructuring. And as far as cash is concerned, it is total cash. There is no question of any what you call restructuring. And that 1,598 crores which we have collected is pure cash. Apart from that, we have also collected from return of accounts about 680 crores. So both the things put together, it is coming to about 4,750 crores.
Okay, so the 3,900 crore in your movement of NPA mostly pertains to NPAs till last quarter.
Yeah, plus 680 also you have to add, ma'am. That is 4,750 total figure. 1,598 plus 2,292 plus 680. 680 and 1,592 are pure cash.
Sure, got it. And on the capital raising front, if you could throw light on what are the plans, and any color on whether you are intending to sell stake in Canfin and raise capital that way.
Ma'am, we have a board permission to raise 2,500 crores through QIP, and in a day or two we'll be deciding the date when we are going to hit the market. Second one is additional Tier 1 bonds. We have a permission for 4,000 crores, but we are waiting when to take a call. Tier 2 bonds, about 2,500 crores, we have permission, and that the current quarter we are not planning. However, we will take a decision after 2-3 weeks once we complete the QIP process.
Okay. And on the recovery pipeline, if you could give some color as well.
In the beginning of the financial year, we have given guidance that our slippages will be somewhere about 14,000 to 15,000 crores full year. And our recoveries will be more than that. A cash will be about 10,000 crores. So if you see our recoveries in the first quarter itself, almost 4,750 crores we have clocked. So getting a recovery of say 15,000 crores, which is more than the slippages, will not be an issue for us. Various reasons. First one is we have a specialized vertical and staff to take care about the monitoring and recovery. And we are very aggressive in OTS. In Q1, we have done about 89,000 OTS, and the amount settled is about 1,250 crores, and the book liability is about 1,950 crores. So we are very aggressive as far as recovery is concerned. So that is why we feel that under the worst conditions in Q1, we could give such a better results as far as cash recovery and upgradation is concerned, and slippages are controlled. So going forward, the efforts which we are putting in should definitely yield better results.
Sure. And just final one from my side. So on the growth front, we have seen a very healthy growth from the corporate portfolio at 3% plus from a sequential perspective. So what is it? Where are the opportunities in the corporate segment?
In corporate sector, we are very aggressive in infrastructure, especially HAM projects. Second one, we are very aggressive in healthcare sector. Third one, we are getting good inquiries, and we are also taking exposure in steel and cement, basically industries. So this is where we are seeing a very good traction.
Sure, thanks you. That's all from my side, and all the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mona. We have next question from Pranav Tendulkar. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, sir. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Sir,
Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, sir. Sir, I have a few questions on regarding data. So, finally, what is the total restructured book? So, there is a restructured book which was present in Q1 around 8,000 crore, and if I'm correct, around 8,000 crore has been added this quarter. So, is it around 16,000 crore total restructured book, including SME? Restructuring 1, 2, and other.
Total restructured book is 4,000 crores plus 5,000 crores plus 13,000 crores. But here again, I say that this 13,000 crores, you cannot term it as restructuring. It can be termed it as a resolution.
Got it. Which is this COVID restructuring. Yes.
Yes.
Perfect, sir. So that is one. Second is you had in the last quarter's PPT, the NIM for the quarter was reported as 2.7, but this quarter March NIM is changed to 2.5. So anything change that reading?
In March, we give the yearly figures, and here it is a quarterly figures.
Sorry. Okay, so that is second. Third is, sir, now in this quarter, what is the total provisions which are outstanding, which are not considered in PCR or anywhere else, like COVID provision buffer that we have?
Any provision which is made for standard account and other than the NPA account is not considered for a PCR. So naturally, whatever the 1,500 or almost 2,000 crores made for the COVID restructuring provision is not included in the PCR.
So that is 2,000 crores for the quarter?
Yeah, approximately in COVID and other. Some
Correct.
extra, whatever court order or whatever related accounts, that provisions are not included in the PCR. You can take it as 2,000 crores.
Correct. Sir, if I see whatever is the net NPA amount right now, will it be safe to assume that even if there is a 40,000 crore slippage and similar recovery, the provision expense for next year could be below 2%? Is that right assumption? 2% of the advances?
Credit cost as of now 2.06. It will be less than 2. It must be around 1.80 range in the same level of slippage. This one.
Right.
Target is less than 2.
Right. So and guidance of the slippage is around 30 to 40,000 crore, but the recovery will be higher, right?
It is 13. It is 14 to 15,000 crores. 14. 14 to 15, and the recoveries will be more than the slippages. So
Perfect.
At the end of the day, the outstanding gross NPA will come down.
Perfect. So any idea about what will be the current embedded value of Canara HSBC? Life insurance company, embedded value?
I think we have to work on that.
Okay. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav. We have next question from the line of Abhijit. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. So a few clarifications. First one, on the restructuring itself, can you just explain what is the nature of this restructuring? How many months of moratorium have you given here?
Total restructuring, it is about 13,000 crores and number of accounts are 350,000. Out of which retail is about 7,600, MSME 3,300, and small business is about 1,400. Rest is about allied activities in the agriculture. Agriculture is a different criteria. There it is not 24 months or 12 months. It is depending upon the crop. it is, and the income which will be generated by the allied activities. So maximum the period given is about 24 months. It varies from 3 months depending upon the requirement of the borrower.
And given that retail has a good contribution in the second round, this is largely coming from mortgages.
Yes, not mortgages, they are from housing loans. They are
Housing
from
loans,
housing
yeah.
loans because we classify mortgages and housing loans a bit different way. In the sense, mortgages are against the properties,
Sure.
and these
Yeah.
are pure housing loans where people have taken this facility, but we are of the opinion that they will not be withholding the installments, they will be paying in spite of having the moratorium period.
And so when the borrower, let's say, does not use the moratorium, then are you allowed to upgrade these accounts?
No, they are already standard accounts.
No, as in
They are
upgrade,
already
as in remove the restructuring.
we will not be removing from the restructuring parameter with the figures. However, going forward, we want to mention separately that so many borrowers, in spite of using the resolution facility, they have prepaid the installments. That statistics we will be giving to the public going forward.
And the tag is removed only once the loan is entirely repaid.
Yes.
Okay.
Or not entirely repaid. Once the 24 months or 12 months, whatever is crossed, when the regular installment starts, no more it will be treated as a restructured. We'll say that restructured, but it is restructuring is properly implemented.
Got it. And the second one is if you can give some data on the mix of loan book across the different types of benchmarks, MCLR or the other one, the retail, the repo linked loans.
That I can provide you, no problem.
You'll provide it separately or?
Separately I will provide. Because see, all MSME, they are under RLLR and retail.
Okay.
Agriculture, again, it is linked with MCLR. Corporate, MCLR.
So today, what would be the, if you have the number, like on a weighted average basis, MCLR versus RLLR, what would be the gap in yields?
See, RLLR, you can take this retail about 1,15,000 crores and MSME about 1,06,000 crores.
Mm-hmm. No, in terms of the yields, the underlying yields on the RLLR book and the MCLR link book, is there a very big gap between the two sets of loan book?
I cannot say there is much gap. There is difference.
Okay.
But that I think those figures we have to find out. But globally, if you see retail and MSME, they are under RLLR.
Okay.
And about 30 to 32% is there.
And so you mentioned you've reduced the yields on the rates on RLLR by 40 basis points.
Yes.
But
because if you
this is supposed to be a link. This is supposed to be linked to an external benchmark, no?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm telling you. When the repo rate has come down by 40 basis points, correspondingly, we have also reduced 40 basis points in RLLR. Whereas in MCLR, even though it is 40 basis points, we have reduced 10 more basis points to pass on the benefit to our customers.
Got it. So the last one is there is a breakup of the industry credit, which is slide number 12.
Yes.
The infra book is 88,384 crores.
Correct.
The same number in the last quarter's presentation was a number about 72,000 crores. So there's a 16,000 crore jump on that line.
Yes. As I said, infrastructure, we are a bit very active, especially HAM projects. And other infrastructure, like what you call wherever the construction activities are going on. So these are all high rated companies and the disbursement is still pending. And I think you may see a good growth in this one going forward.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abhijit. We have follow-up question from the line of Mahrukh. Please unmute yourself.
Sir, just a few follow-up questions. Firstly, that just to clarify again on restructuring. So the 13,000 crore is COVID 1 plus 2, 4,000 is MSME, and what is 5,000?
Ma'am, 4,000 crores is previous, that is from 1st January 2019. Whatever
Okay.
restructuring is eligible for the MSMEs, that is the figure.
Got it.
And this 5,000 crores is the RBI resolution 1, where they said that you can give for corporates, personal, MSME and others, where we said that we will be restructuring up to 10,000 crores. But at the, what you call, when the scheme is closed, only borrowers to the outstanding to the tune of only 5,000 crores, they agreed for restructuring. The remaining, they started paying the amount.
Got it, sir. Sir, and my other question is that in your retail loans, non-agri retail loans, what would be the composition of salaried versus self-employed? And then within salaried, what would be the composition of government versus non-government?
Ma'am, as far as salaried is concerned, it is the major portion is salaried, say up to 80%, and remaining 20% may be other than salaried people. However, within salaried, government and non-government, that we have not classified.
Got it. But is it based on bureau scores or is it largely to government employees?
Mostly, it is a mixture of both, because we have exposure to government employees as well as the private sector blue chip company employees also.
Okay, got it, sir. Sir, and in your moment of NPLs, the upgrades were high. So any lumpy accounts there?
Ma'am, last quarter, we were fortunate to have that Bhushan Power and Steel, where we got significant amount.
Right.
But this quarter, it is totally all our small accounts. And this has come only because of the involvement of all my 10,000 branch managers.
Got it. But even in COVID, they went and collected.
Yes. Especially we used that work from home facility to be in touch with the people and use that opportunity for recovery as well as for the restructuring of the accounts.
Got it. And in terms of Kingfisher, did you have any exposure, sir?
Fortunately, no.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, Maruk. We have next question from the line of Rajiv. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. And
Good
congratulations to the team for a very strong pre-provisioning profit and recoveries number in this tough times.
Thank you very much.
Sir, my question is on the capital. So we are right now at a CET1 of 8.9%, and our loan growth is barely into mid single digits. In fact, our risk-weighted assets have actually shown a quarter-on-quarter decline. So in such a scenario, what would explain a rationale for a capital raise?
We have given a guidance that our global credit will grow by 7.5% minimum. So it may touch 10% also. Then when the credit growth picks up, we want to be ready with the capital also. That is why we are coming out very soon for raising about 2,500 crores of capital through QIP. Once we raise that one, I think we'll be in a very comfortable position to take on any big projects also and to expand the credit.
Sure, sir. But sir, if you look at our valuations, we will be raising at a very dilutive valuation. We are still quoting at 0.4 times book value. And we would understand that in December when we raised the capital, that was a different time frame. We were coming out of wave one, moratorium, Supreme Court judgment on asset classification, having all those uncertainties. And we needed to boost our tier one. So at that time, even going at a dilution at those kind of levels was, I think, was okay. But now going into a second dilution, and when the growth picks up, we may even look at further capital. So shouldn't we be looking at monitoring our stake from the Canfin Homes rather than diluting at such cheap valuations, sir? Because it's actually very unfair on the minority.
There are 2 points. One thing is, through QIP, as per the decision of the board, we want to raise about 2,500 crores to take care about the future growth. And second one is, if suppose tomorrow, if there is any impact because of COVID-3, we should be in a position to sustain. So that is the reason because of which we want to raise only 2,500 crores through QIP. The second option of diluting the stake in subsidiaries, that option is always open, but only thing is, still we don't see very attractive valuations as on date to dilute our stake. So we are waiting for an opportunity.
Okay, so can that happen? So once this race is over, then maybe we will not have to go for a capital raise again, say, and we'll then we actually be exploring very seriously a stake dilution, maybe end of the current financial year or something, when we actually need the growth capital. Will that be a fair assumption?
As on date,
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajiv. We take next question from the line of Mayank. Please unmute yourself. Mr. Mayank?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, you are audible, Mayank. Please, Mr. Mayank.
Yeah. So my question is regarding PSLC. So, like, what is tenor for PSLC income? Meaning, validity would be till March 2022 for selling PSLC, and we will be able to sell again in April 2022.
On 31st March of every year, it becomes 0. Again, from 1st April onwards, again, this lot will be available for you to again resell.
Okay. So now
So
remaining.
Yes. As on date, remaining percentages, we have about 5.47% excess over the required norms as far as priority sector is concerned. And going forward, since we will be lending to priority sector further, the figure may go up still further.
Okay. So 5 to 6% further we can sell in the remaining year. And since tenor would be much lower, so income would be proportionately lower in that segment. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
every year we can book it.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayank. We have last question from the line of Sushil Choksi. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Congratulations on a great set of results among challenging times.
Good afternoon, Choksi ji.
Good afternoon. I hope that you succeed and you do well in the current year. So my follow-up question to some of the participants who are asking on your dilution. Let's assume, I think in media you spoke about 7% growth on business this year. And second thing is you spoke about a lot of rationalization which is aiding to your income currently. So if 7% growth is on target, do you need capital, or if it's only exceeding 7 and you're looking at 10-12%, then you need capital?
See, our guidance is credit growth of 7.5% is minimum. It is a lower benchmark. And the second one is, as far as the rationalization of the branches are concerned, we have already closed more than 600 branches and opened about more than around 60 specialized branches. So we are saving cost there, but at the same time, we are conscious of increasing the business and increasing the credit book, loan book.
I understand that credit book opportunity for a bank of your size is far greater, better off than many of the other banks where competition with lesser equity or their own internal problems and processes are there. Now, you've guided that you're looking at HAM and some other specific pharma hospital, but pharma cannot give you that kind of growth as you may envisage. Government may ask and push for it, but hardly any pharma companies are borrowers. So you may get 10, 20 large accounts, but it's not much. So what kind of, when you elaborate pharma, what kind of, are you looking at some supply chain discounting, which is a low margin business, or you're looking at capex of pharma or working capital?
Yeah, when the scheme has come, we have said that we will be sanctioning about 4,000 crores and disbursing about 4,000 crores to start with. So as on date, we are at 4,500 crores sanctions and about 1,800 crores disbursements. And disbursements happen in the healthcare sector phase-wise. This consists of pharma, hospitals, medical colleges, oxygen manufacturing units, pathology units, all, and the number of accounts to whom we have sanctioned is 74,000 accounts. So it is widespread. Yes, you are right. Here the scope may be about 4,500 to 5,000, at the most 5,500 crores. However, infrastructure, cement and steel, huge potential is there.
No, cement and steel, I agree that with the current cycle, there would be capex and it may not be a big gain from a high spread. It may be a stable spread because most of these companies are AAA and AA rated companies, but there is a scope of 8, 10, 20,000 crores easily because everybody's announcing capex in that plan. But what kind of other advances would you look at for more of a diversification from bank point of view? And second question on digitization process on the entire credit system.
Yeah, let me answer you regarding the AAA accounts. Yes, AAA accounts, they demand good rate. But if you see our cost of deposits, it has come down to 4.02%. I am able to raise deposits at 4.02 average cost and funds I can rise at 3.7%. So it is a very, very competitive price at which I am raising, and I can afford to lend this at a competitive rate to the AAA customers in cement, steel and whatever sector is there. So going forward for Canara Bank, competing with other banks as far as AA, AA and AAA borrowers are concerned will not be an issue. That's point number one. Second, my savings bank is growing at a very faster rate. Last year, there is a growth of about 37,000 crores, which is at 2.9%. So cost is not a factor for me. Apart from HAM, steel, pharma, we are also active in retail. Retail, credit and corporate, we want to maintain a balance of 55% and 45%. So in retail, housing, we are very aggressive. In the last quarter, in spite of COVID, our growth, YoY growth is about 13% in housing. And quarter on quarter, there is no negative growth, there is a positive growth of 1.26. Now in the current month, we see a lot of traction under vehicle loans, especially education loans also, and personal loans. So I think it will be a mix of retail and corporate, where corporate we want to take up the proposals of industries and also infrastructure.
So do you think your treasury profit of Q1, which might have been led by, I'm just speculating, may have led by GSAP, and in the current year GSAP may support you in the following quarters too also, because government and RBI are working together towards keeping the stability in the current global challenges. What's the outlook for current year on that, and what would be your outlook on NIM and CASA as a percentage of and also cost to income?
See, our non-interest income is not totally dependent on treasury income. Treasury income, we are getting a very attractive yields, and current quarter, I think there should not be an issue as far as the treasury yields are concerned. And with the way in which the treasury is handling the business, going forward also we'll be in a position to make money from the treasury. And we have already taken steps not to over depend on any one particular non-interest income criteria. We want to spread over, and we are trying to get more and more fee-based income. That is apart from in particular, any of the particular component of the non-interest income goes down, the other component will compensate it. So we are working in that strategy, and we will continue to increase our non-interest income going forward.
Sir, your outlook on NIM, cost to income, and CASA?
NIM, now we are at 2.71. It is going to improve. And our guidance is, we said that we will be at 2.75. And we are confident that we will be crossing this. So NIM will not be a problem. And cost to income ratio, it has come up to 50%. And increasing income down.
So by guidance,
One more % minimum, and CASA we are targeting a growth of minimum 14% next quarter also. So about 30% and 35% of the year, I think we'll comfortably be doing that. This is a percentage of term deposits and CASA deposit. Term deposits 213 crores, 2,13,000 crores, and we are going to maintain at that level unless until we get a very competitive rate. That is where I get some money. With I think increasing the savings bank at 14 to 15% and controlling the bulk deposits, encouraging the retail term deposits, I think CASA percentage of 36.50 by 31st March 2022 is comfortably achievable.
Sir, I would last request that I would request and urge that if Canara Bank can interact with large shareholders where your dilution is concerned, you will have different opinions compared to what the board might be taking a decision on a betterment of Canara Bank and not taking a negative stand.
Sir, we are open to have a dialogue with any of the stakeholders.
I mean the top shareholders only. I'm not talking about participants or analysts.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you very much.
So that could you make some
Yes, our executive director, Sri Mukherjee, he would like to.
Economy is going through, and we are equipping ourselves to face those challenges. And over the last 2-3 quarters, you must have seen that our performance in recovery, our performance in slippage management has been better than the average, our peer banks. So we are going to continue that. So far as business growth is concerned, as our guidance is 7.5%, that is the minimum. We will strive to exceed that. And so far as cost cutting and the other operating cost decrease is concerned, we have already decreased the cost to income ratio to a reasonable level now. We will further strive to reduce it during the course of this year. So both in the business front in the recovery front, in the profitability front, we will continue to move in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. With that,
Thank you very much.
on behalf of Antique Stock Broking, Prabhakar sir and his team, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. Thank you all the participants for joining in. Have a good day and good evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.